Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to change the world one brave word at a time around here. And here today to help me with that mission are some of the authors of a new book we have coming out, The Ultimate Guide to Self-Healing, Volume 5. So if any of you have been following me for the last year and a half, you're going to know that I woke up on March 20th of 2020 dreaming up the idea of doing this collaboration, right? You might have heard this story before, but if you haven't, it was a small miracle because I went to my healers and I said, listen, the world needs to know how to heal at home right now. Who wants to write a chapter of all those books that are sitting behind me on my back of my shoulders there? And in 48 hours last year, I had 24 people say yes. And 5 weeks later, the Ultimate Guide 1 was born. And I was like, whoa, what just happened? And here we are today, ladies, celebrating Volume 5. Thank you so much for saying yes to this project and for helping me to continue the badassery with this mission. It's been really incredible. And I can't wait for our viewers to really understand who you are and what you do in the world. It's pretty amazing. So I have the founder of Desire Alchemy, Erica Delani, with me. She's an initiated priestess and trauma-informed somatic sex and magic coach who shares her 30 plus years of experience as a witch and sexual rebel with others who want to unleash their unique desires. I have Jen Eve with me. She's an intuitive counselor and energy healer. Mary Welp is a craniosacral and hypnotherapist who teaches RISE Hypnotic Meditation around the country. And Reverend Dr. Patricia Keel is a visionary and midwife to awaken high vibe consciousness. So if y'all don't realize the power I have in this little Zoom room, I'm not sure that you will, because with those bios, I'm like, whoa, yes, let's chat. Okay, Erica, you're going to start the party off today. You ready for this?
Yes.
Tell me about the amazing chapter you wrote.
Thanks. So I wrote chapter 15, Turn Yourself On, Embodiment Practices to Jumpstart Your Day. How you turn yourself on every morning powerfully contributes to your energy level, creativity, connection to yourself and others, and joy throughout the day. Instead of turning the vital moments as you shift from stillness to motion into another to-do list to be tackled before you can begin your regular to-do list, you can cultivate a practice of embodied pleasure that helps you gently shake your consciousness out of dream time to join the physical world ready to shine. As I was writing this chapter, I was thinking, oh, this is immediately going to make people think masturbation. And that's loads of fun in the morning. But I don't have time for that every single morning. What I do have time for is a small 2-minute practice that helps me anchor to one of my senses in the world. And that moment of pleasure, that sensory pleasure in my body of hearing the world around me, feeling the softness of my own blankets on my skin, something that really resonates with me, helps me bridge from dream time to waking and really settle my nervous system in a way that allows me to approach my day with energy and enthusiasm. And it gives me a touch point I can come back to throughout the day. Anytime I'm getting revved up and stressed out, I can close my eyes, take 3 breaths, and come back to that moment of sensory connection. And that's what this chapter is all about.
I love that so much. I took your chapter idea and I used it when I had a bath the other night. And the bath is just such a beautiful self-care tool anyway. But I realized after I read some of your chapter that I don't even know where I was in my bath. Like I wasn't even feeling that beautiful sensation of my arms floating. I was just sort of like sitting in the bath, like, and the stuff that's going on up here is the problem, right? So just dropping down into my body with the breath was really the entry point, right? And it can be that simple.
Yes, absolutely. And that's one of the things that I have found to be most powerful about these practices in my life as well, is I know that I I was going to bed at night with a to-do list running in my head. What's my morning? What's my day? And I would wake up with that same thought running. And I woke up with a sense of dread and that tension of got to get stuff done. And I didn't even give myself that one moment of dropping into my body with just a couple of breaths and being present in the waking world for just a moment before I shifted into getting kids to school, getting to work, what is next on my plate. But having that tool and letting it be a touchstone that I can come back to really helps me be grounded and present for all of the people in my life and for myself. It really makes those days a lot more pleasurable throughout the day. And that helps me look forward to rather than dread.
Thank you, Erica. We're going to talk more about awareness today, y'all, for a different question, but I love how you're each sharing an awareness tool, essentially. And when you set the bar high with those intentions first thing in the morning, right, then your day just is going to go differently. And it seems so small, but it's so profound. So I love that you started us off with that, Erica. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jennifer, how about you? Tell us about your amazing chapter.
My chapter is called Bury Depression Before It Buries You. A fear that helps you and live again.
Hey, Jen, we're having a little trouble with your audio. You're kind of cutting in and out. Is everyone else hearing that too? Yeah, okay. So I want to make sure that we're hearing you loud and clear, and the audio seems a little bit off. It's pretty rough. You might want to disconnect from the AirPods, and we'll try it just facing your computer in a minute. So I'm gonna slide to our next author, and I'm gonna come back to you. Okay, so we'll do a little audio check here in a second. Mary, I'm gonna ask you to tell us about your chapter next.
Sure. I was privileged to get to write chapter 12, which I entitled Shift Happens, and it's about RISE Hypnotic Meditation, a tool for lasting change. So with the pandemic, my business closed, and I started thinking about how I could incorporate a therapy that I was doing with my clients. And it was marrying self-hypnosis, teaching them self-hypnosis, but then introducing it as a meditation practice. So daily they would set an intention. It could be something as simple as, being more in my body that day, or getting a better night's sleep, or something more bigger in their lives and more of a boundary. And so, or more of a block. So I wrote about RISE, and RISE is 4 steps. It's relax, imagine, suggest, empower, because often in meditation, people get lost and aren't really sure what to do and where to focus their mind. So this gives their mind a job. And the daily practice really helps reinforce whatever change would like to be brought up in their lives. So I've been traveling and teaching RISE for a while. So to get to write about it was really an honor for me. And I'm really excited about it and excited to get it out to the world.
Thank you. When you said your mind needs a job, I thought, okay, so then what job are you giving it? So talk a little bit more about that choice and why that's important.
Well, I'm giving the mind a chance to look at what we want to shift in our lives. And I know there have been times in my life where I felt stuck and didn't know quite how to get out of it, or even what my block was. So we don't always have to know exactly what the block is to address it and to move it. So, our blocks are energy. We are energy. Our thoughts are energy. So sometimes shifting our thoughts or shifting our way of looking at the world, they can stem from imprints and fears and habits that we've had for a lifetime. So sometimes when these bigger issues come up, it's also a way to sit with that and allow our lives to flow through us, and for us to live our lives instead of reacting the way we have in the past, or reacting from the information that's located in our subconscious.
Awesome. Thank you so much. When people can change from reactions to responses, lives change. So really, being able to respond to the things that happen. So you're just making me think about that a little bit. Thank you, Mary.
Well, and I, just to add one more thing, if I could get anything across with RISE, it is that we tell ourselves stories. We live the stories of our lives and the history that we have. And as we change, those stories don't always change. We get stuck in those stories. So I'm really hoping people will look at their lives and just what imprints and fears and habits have set themselves up to live a certain way or to react a certain way, and know that they do have choice and that they can shift that if they're willing and able and wanting to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Jen, let's try going back to you and see if we got you.
Thank you. Hi, hello.
Oh, that's so much better. Let's hear all about your chapter.
Happy to share. Sorry for the little glitch. But isn't life all about glitches? So, and resilience and overcoming, right? So, my chapter is Bury Depression Before It Buries You. It's a funeral ritual, an action to take, grief to the grave, end suffering, and live again. As we all know, pain is inevitable, right? Suffering is optional. And so when one is in crisis and one is in having the experience of overwhelm, one needs a tool for coping. And this is a coping mechanism. It allows individuals to place distance between themselves and their experiences and the trapped emotions that are related to those experiences. It allows them to take them, externalize them, get them out of themselves so that they are not walking around with and having the resonance of those experiences in them, so that they're constantly triggered by similar experiences. So for example, if one has had an experience of anger, the anger gets trapped in one's body. That anger resonates with every experience of feeling anger. You already have anger on board. So one's baseline for anger is already elevated. So one is triggered more easily. The same holds true for any trapped emotion. What this ritual helps to do is it takes the energetics that are associated with experiences and allows one to take them out of their body, externalize them, until they can go through the full comprehensive process of actually eliminating those trapped emotions, so that they're not constantly having the reinforced resonance of those experiences and experiencing the angst that comes when they're triggered, and those energies are tapped into and like a tuning fork, activated. So it is a concrete tool. Anybody can use it. It can be used for actual experiences, emotions, anything that one just needs a reprieve from, needs to catch their breath, get it out of their body, bury it elsewhere. And so one can cope. It gets space. It's a wedge to allow you space to be able to deal with one's overwhelm in the moment.
Yeah, thank you so much for writing about the overwhelm. I know that this is timely for a lot of people who there's been things building, and different people have been going through different versions of the overwhelm based on what they had before and now what's on top of it. And I just hear this being talked about so often in my circles lately. So I appreciate the in the moment tools. And what else do you want to say about that?
Well, Yeah, it's, when one is in overwhelm, in that mode, where do you begin, right? And even just getting oneself centered to dig in and address trapped emotions, it can feel like too much. And so really, one needs to get to a place where they feel like they have their footing and they have, again, that space to start to work through, address, and process any emotions that weren't fully processed in the moment when they were experienced the first time. So my hope is that individuals will use this ritual to carve out that space, even in the midst of crisis, even in the midst of overwhelm. My hope is that they will use it in the way that I've used it with clients, where they needed to be able to function and to be productive in their daily lives. They didn't have the luxury of taking a vacation to work through and process the feelings that were overwhelming them. And so short of doing that, this tool can allow people to offload some of the overwhelm, again, to give themselves space to, deal with what is on their plate in the moment.
Yes, thank you, Jen. So I'll say thank you to you and to all of you wise women here with me today. Thanks for just not only saying yes to this project, but stepping up with such amazing, vulnerable stories, letting us get to know you a little bit better. And then also, as Jen talks about her tool, y'all are such amazing master teachers. And so that's the other big mission with these books, is to teach our readers these very practical tools that can help them in the moment. And that piece really turns me on. You all did it so brilliantly, and I appreciate you for that. You can talk it out a lot. You guys coach people, you teach them all day long, but then to put it into words on a page so that somebody can have an experience is a little different, right? It's a challenge, and really you did it in an amazing way. So thank you, Jen. Patricia, let's move to you. Tell me about your amazing chapter.
So my chapter is chapter 10, and the title is Divine Discontent. And I remember when I gave you that, I'm like, holy moly, what am I doing here? But it's so much a part of my story. The title is Divine Discontent, Finding Yourself in Times of Transition. And it all kind of evolved. What I loved about the book is we get to tell a little bit about our story, because my life has certainly totally evolved from what I would call my story, because it's my life. And, while your story is not the same as my story, I think that this sense of transition happens for many, many women. And for me, it was like my early mid 40s that it started happening. And it was, my second divorce. I had my own successful business, but it was like, oh, I don't really like it that much. And then after the divorce, I'm standing at my kitchen window looking out with my daughter there, and I'm going, this is not what I expected at all. I thought it would be like easy peasy after I got rid of him. That was not the case. Anyway, what ended up happening for me was through this incredible experience with my daughter, which I'll let you read about in the book. I realized that I totally needed a fresh start in my life. I needed to stop doing the things I had been doing in the past. And so I'd been drinking a lot. Chardonnay was my sort of like my management practice. And I was going to an AA meeting, and I met this woman who was so calm. I'm like, oh, I really wanted what she had. And so I asked for help. And I have to say, that to me is one of the things that is really hard for a lot of us. You know, we're super women, we're perfectionists, we're doing it all. And I was certainly in that place in my life. But there was just this stuff stirring inside me. And ultimately what ended up happening was this woman, Anne, took me to a church. It was a Unity church. And I just, all of a sudden, I just kind of dropped into this place of peacefulness. It just was like, oh my God, I think I've come home. And I cried and I cried and I cried and I hightailed it out the back of the church at the end of the service while they're all singing about peace. I'm just weeping because I felt like something had really happened inside me. Anyway, long story short, I am a Unity minister now, which was not on my radar at all, you know, back of the church, hightail it out. But what I know is there's this place inside of us, and that's what I call divine discontent. And I feel like divine discontent it's like the fertile ground for our self-healing. It's the fertile ground for self-awareness and also for new beginnings. And I think for many of us over our life, you know, I'm 74 right now, so I've had a few new beginnings, but that was like the big one. That was like the hallway where, you know, I'd closed the door on divorce and I was in this hallway kind of going, what's next? I wasn't really sure. If you will indulge me, Laura, I'd love to just share the Rumi quote that I put in the book.
Oh, please.
It's such a great quote. Whatever happens to you, don't fall in despair. Even if all the doors are closed, a secret path will be there for you that no one knows. You can't see it yet, but so many paradises are at the end of this path. Be grateful. I just love that because I think we all have this sort of secret path inside. And the tool that I'm offering is a really simple 3-minute tool. It's called the ABC tool for self-healing. And maybe we'll talk about that later, or people can find out more about it in the book. So happy to be with you today, Laura.
That's awesome. Thank you. You know, the title hit me a little bit deeper today as you've been explaining it. If I get I'm privy to reading all of these beautiful women's chapters ahead of time, and I'm feeling the stories and reading the tools, and that title, when you said it today, I'm like, yeah, divine discontent, because I experienced the same in a moment that was life-changing for me. And if we can look at those moments as opportunities instead of just how crappy it feels in the moment, then everything changes. It's actually profound.
It's huge. It's huge. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm so lucky I get to play in the sandbox with people like you all. So let's go to another question now. And Jen, I'm going to start with you for this one. So, you know, I think one of the things that we do is we guide people on this journey and we help them feel empowered again. I know a lot of our clients have become disempowered, or they're feeling these feelings like that. So I want to just have you all share one way, and I know you do it a million ways, so you got to pick one today. Share one way you empower your clients. So that's for you, Jen, first.
Sure. So this tool, I used it for myself. I have used it for other clients, and one client comes to mind in particular. I worked with a gentleman who was being re-triggered around the loss of his brother. And he had buried his brother, but arguably he hadn't buried the grief that was related to the experience of burying his brother. And so he was sitting with this grief, and we are all, as you well know, dealing with a collective grief around having lost the lives that we knew during the pandemic. And so our threshold for coping with grief and loss is certainly higher. Again, that's our baseline. And so he was feeling, he was in his feelings and having a very strong experience of overwhelm around revisiting the loss of his brother, which happened years ago, and yet it was still very much present because he walks around with the energetics of that experience on board, and he has trapped grief around it and other related emotions. So what I did is I used this ritual to have this gentleman take the grief that was the residual grief related to the experience of losing his brother. And I had him put it into a vessel and bury it. And when everyone has access to and can read the ritual that I offered as a tool, they'll see how that process works. And he was able to externalize his grief in such a way that he was able to go back into his work. And his work is related to creating healing medicines and other pharmacological solutions for individuals who succumb to the same disease as his brother. So he needed to be able to, on a daily basis, go to work, be empowered around helping others, and sit with the energetics of the experience of losing his brother in a way that he could not be overwhelmed. So this ritual allowed him to externalize and offload the excessive grief around that.
Thank you, Jen. Powerful tools. Oh my goodness. Wait until you all read this book and realize what a powerful toolkit you have in your hands for all kinds of things, including the grief, of course, but many, many other things as well. So Mary, how about you? What's one of the things that you help people with in terms of that feeling empowered again?
I guess the main thing I want to bring to my clients is to offer them a safe space and really listen to them, because I think so often until we verbalize what we're feeling, we don't really even know what we're feeling. So in providing that safe space, I think it gives people more the opportunity to go inward and look at what isn't working anymore and be open to shifting that and feeling supported in that shift, because sometimes we struggle and we don't even let people know how much we're struggling. And so I just want to provide a very safe space so that going inward and shifting things and looking at yourself isn't so scary, and that it feels empowering, that they can take their skill on and their life on in a very powerful way.
Thank you, Mary. I was speaking to one of our other authors about the topic of reaching out for help and getting help. And so often in this world, we hear that the ultimate work is the inner work, and that's really the work to do. But I'm here to remind everyone that sometimes it requires a witness. Sometimes it requires a really good listener and someone to hold the space. And that's why, we want to give you the tools, but we also want you to know that one of the tools is to learn how to reach out better and get the help that you need. So Mary's helping me remember that. Thank you. Okay, Patricia, how about you on this one? What's one of the ways you love to help people feel empowered?
So one of the things that I really love to bring awareness to my clients is that we have to be mindful of our state. We have to have awareness of what our inner state is moment to moment, and to become not only aware of our inner state, but be aware of the consequences of how we act and speak when we're not in a calm, connected, peaceful, present moment state. And so, I mean, that's just been that's kind of the basis of all the work I do with people. And that awareness can take time, but also just, doing small practices like some of the other wonderful teachers have shared, and the practice I have in my book, something really 3 minutes can bring us back into that calm, connected state. And it's only really from those states of presence that we can take what I call spiritual right action. You know, we're not causing more problems because we're acting out of a suffering state. And I believe very sincerely that we have the potential to move in and out of those states very rapidly. I don't think it takes us weeks, months, years. It doesn't mean we stay there, but I think it's very possible to understand and feel the difference in our state of being.
Yes, I want everyone to hear that again. It can take 3 minutes and you can have a shift in your energy that's palpable and changes things for the better. 3 minutes. So that's how powerful these practices are. Right. You know, we're often so told, well, this is going to be really difficult, or this is going to take 10, 20, 40 years. This is going to be forever. Well, you healers understand the lifelong journey that we sign up for. We know that piece. But a moment shift can happen in a moment. And that, I love it that you said that, Patricia, thank you. Awesome. Erica, how about you? What do you want to add to this empowerment chat?
I think what I want to add to the empowerment chat and how I like to work with folks to help them be more empowered is just helping them connect to their own bodies as that kind of divining rod for what's really going on for them. The part of our brain that controls body awareness also controls empathy and perspective taking. And so the more we can become aware of what's going on in our bodies, the more we can tap into both where is our subconscious perhaps running us astray, and where is our pleasure located. And so really being conscious of our physical state, which again is something that can be done in 2 minutes, and everybody has a body. So it is absolutely something that all of us can use and tap into. But I find often in our culture, we've kind of gone down this path where our bodies are these machines that carry our brains around, and we've privileged the brain so much. And so actually learning to reconnect physically and tap into our gut and our nervous system as a powerful source of information and comfort and connection is an incredibly powerful tool.
I love hearing about the connection between embodied and perspective. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's one of those things that nervous system, polyvagal system, that vagus nerve, as we are settled in our nervous system, we co-regulate with the people around us. And so unless we can connect with them and kind of understand their perspective, all of those connections happen when we anchor in our bodies and with our nervous system. And so that's really, in my perspective, one of the ways that not only will we heal ourselves, but the ways we'll heal our culture and our communities is by really paying attention to our bodies and what they're telling us in connection with each other, and empathizing and being able to understand that perspective of the other as well as the self.
Yes, this is really big potato stuff. This work that you all do on yourselves, this means something. This is world-changing kind of work because you're starting here with that. And that's amazing to me. It makes me feel so purposeful in what we're doing, sharing these stories and tools with people, because when they even just practice something new for 3 minutes, you know, that's exciting to me. Okay, so I've got kind of a big, broad question for all of you. Mary, I'm going to start with you for this one. So healing is really cool and all, but why holistic healing? What's your version of that answer?
It's holistic because it's of the whole body. It is the body, mind, and spirit that is needed to heal. And when there's dysfunction mentally, there'll be a physical and a spiritual dysfunction happening. When there is physical dis-ease, there is something mental and something spiritual amiss. So it is very holistic in that When we heal, we're healing all of the layers of ourselves. And it is not a pill. It is not an instant, a moment, although it can be. But it is taking the time to be aware and to be wholly in your body. And very often we are kind of segmented. We feel maybe very present in our mind, but not so much in our bodies. I do body scans with people, and it's amazing how many people will say, well, I really hadn't considered if my feet are relaxed or not. You know, I hadn't felt grounded. I don't know what the earth feels like beneath my feet. So it's really being in the body and also honest with our mind and where we are spiritually. Are we really living the life that we came here to live and that we want to live? And it's all of that's wrapped up together. It's not just one piece. We can't just heal the body and then expect the mind and the spirit to take care of themselves, and vice versa.
Exactly. And flipping that, I really think that we, as an author group and really as a healer community, are waking people up to what's possible when you embrace what holistic really means. So again, I get excited about this stuff. I maybe like some of you grew up in the Western medical system that piece parted me and was not holistic. And somebody in another interview said, you have to add that W to the word holistic because there's no holes in holistic. We need the whole, the W whole, right? I thought that was kind of funny. Patricia, what do you want to add to this? Why holistic? What's your version of this answer?
Well, holy is holistic. But, for me, I've been involved in a community called Oneness in India for 15 years. And it's about this idea that we live in a universe where there's this intelligent universe and we're connected to all of that energy all the time. And so I had this practice years ago in India called the Mystic Triangle, and it involved the mind and the body and the energy of the Kundalini, which would rise up. And that's the basis of all the work that I do right now. Literally, it's this awareness that we pull in from the mind that connects through the breath in the body. And I love what Erica talked about in the body, but it's that energy that connects us to everything all around us, which is the conscious connection that we have with all life, with the humans, with the plants, with the animals, and with our mother. So I think there's no healing without wholeness, without holistic, without oneness. There you go.
Yeah, and to our listeners, to add on to that, if you haven't been open to what's possible in terms of that energy, you will be amazed when you open up your mind to what that might mean for you, what that kind of practice or work or tool or medicine, however you get your help and guidance, it can open up huge, huge worlds in terms of possibilities for pain relief. When, you might have grown up and learned that somebody else was in charge of fixing that, not you, in terms of the physical pain, and that it really had to do with a pill, a surgery, something, and listen, I love emergency medicine. Thank goodness for all of the beautiful things they can do with the technology. However, when it comes to preventative medicine and feeling wholly well, we have to look at all of the ways. So you're getting me on a roll there, Patricia, with the energy, because energy is everything, right? Erica, what do you want to add about why holistic?
For me, I think the focus on holistic has partially to do with treating dis-ease from the root rather than the symptoms in the branches. How do we look at, so often we are just treating those individual symptoms out here instead of really digging deep into what is that root cause. And it's not until we actually dig all the way to the root cause that we will truly heal. Otherwise, we're just on a hamster wheel of treating this symptom and that symptom. And so holistic healing for me has to do with really getting to the place where everything is connected at the root. And that's the place where healing really happens.
And you guys, the root cause doesn't always show up on an MRI. Just saying.
Right.
So people have to understand there's, oh my gosh, there's a whole little fascia talk I could give you. And when I, as a physical therapist, looked at holistic, it meant that if you came in with a prescription from the doctor that said ankle pain, well, I better look at your neck as well, because the fascial system is three-dimensional head to toe, but the fascial system is also energetic. There's a flow, there's a light and an energy that moves through us, through every single cell, through that entire system. So again, and I branded myself as a holistic physical therapist early on because I understood this. But the other thing I understood is that if I didn't ask my clients, hey, what's up right now? How you doing? And if I didn't understand that they had a divorce or a loss of a loved one or a loss of a job, or if I didn't ask those questions, I wasn't going to see the holistic picture in front of me that could be contributing to, you know, you guys fill in the blank of whatever pain they were there for. So I love this conversation so much because it's going to help people understand, you know, that there's some things you can't see and you're going to need to really address all of it. Jennifer, what do you want to say about holistic? It's hard to go last on this question, I know.
Not at all. I'm happy to. So a holistic approach is very important and often enters in. Not everyone's physiology responds well to pharmacology. And so what does one do when in those instances where one is, for example, dealing with a mental health crisis and is in overwhelm around that, and pharmacology is failing? So either their bodies don't respond or they're a fast metabolizer and they go through medicine, it just doesn't affect them the same. What does one do? And how does one stay safe in the presence of overwhelm? And individuals sublimate, they suppress, and pharmacology can certainly manage and address, assuming that one responds well to and doesn't have issues around side effects and such. So in the absence of pharmacology to get a person to a place where they're safe and stable, there need to be other components to a treatment protocol that are complementary and not mutually exclusive. But I'm one of those people that pharmacological interventions are not helpful. So what does one do in the absence of taking a pill to manage symptoms and suppress an experience of overwhelm? If you can't take a Valium, if you can't take an antidepressant, or if you can take them and then they're just simply not, they don't have efficacy such that you'll get out of crisis by taking them. There has to be a complete approach. And one needs tools in their toolkit to address the symptoms that either pharmacological interventions are not catching and covering appropriately, or in the absence of pharmacology, there have to be other ways to address and cope with symptoms for respective ailments. So holistic approach allows for that. It allows for having both pharmacology and other interventions, but in the absence of pharmacology, it still provides a person with viable options for treatment.
Yes, I love that you're bringing in the mental health topic here, because going back to what Erica said about root cause, and there are body reasons, there are mind reasons, you can't separate the two. And I think people are really understanding that you have to integrate everything, and holistic treatment is integration of all of the different ways. It's also giving people hope, because they may be here watching us today, and they have tried 15 ways, 10 different doctors, and they're getting answers, but nobody is actually sitting them down and looking at the big picture, or talking to each other, by the way, in terms of giving integrative treatment, right? So I think what everybody here wants you to know is that there is a holistic approach, and there is an option, and then maybe you just haven't found it yet. One of my favorite quotes ever is, what if there's something you haven't learned yet that could change everything? If you're struggling mentally, physically, emotionally, and typically you can't struggle in just one of those areas, it's going to be all three, right? That's another way to talk about holistic. Okay, so I've got one more question I want to get around to all of you for. We're going to have to do the speed dating version of this one today. Okay, y'all. So good luck with that. Anything that we talk about today, we could sit for hours, because these are such juicy topics. I get that it's challenging. Patricia, I'm going to start this one off with you. People are listening, and they may still feel stuck. And I want to offer people today, you're talking directly to our viewer. What's an easy entry point onto that healing journey if they're still feeling stuck?
So my number one quick fix is the breath, a conscious breath. You do a conscious breath, and I think Erica talked about the connection with the mind body, and how the sympathetic nervous system. I don't want to go into all that, but basically a conscious breath where you're inhaling through the nose, you're bringing your breath down into your belly, and you're slowly exhaling.
Everyone do it now. Do it now.
Let's do it. Inhale deeply, bring it all the way to the belly, and then slow exhalation.
Nice.
3 of those, you will feel like a different woman or man.
Yes. Easy entry point. Thank you. Beautiful. Brilliant. Erica, how about you?
The breath is my go-to. And I think another easy entry point is in that moment, closing your eyes and imagining someone that is beloved to you, or something that's beloved to you, a pet perhaps, and just have that moment of internal connection with that source of love and comfort. Studies have shown that people who are asked to climb a hill, just thinking about friends with them, are able to do it faster and better than those who feel alone. And so even having that moment of imagined connection and comfort with another human or animal companion is a really quick and easy way to shift that energy away from stuckness and into joy.
I love that one. It made me smile. I just doing that as you were saying it. That's beautiful. Thank you. Jen, what's one thing that our listeners can do as that easy entry point today?
Well, it's as easy as getting up from your seat and walking through a doorway.
Yes.
It's as easy as that. Walking through a doorway can shift the energetics of what one is experiencing in the moment.
I love that. I had not thought about the doorway as the place of transitioning. How beautiful is that, and how easy is that? Okay,
So,
don't y'all get up and walk through the doorways yet, okay? Yeah, beautiful.
yeah, who knows what's waiting for you on the other side of, right?
I love it. I love it. Okay, Mary, you're going to close us out today. What's your one way?
My way would be to tell yourself something that you need to hear. We don't always have that support around us, but we know what we need, if we stop and think about it and give ourselves that encouragement and just those affirmations of you are okay. You are doing the best you can today, and giving yourself credit for showing up and doing what you can.
Really nice. Really, really nice. Authors, thank you so much for what you do in the world and for being here today to share it with everybody. Thank you.
Laura.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Laura.
Appreciate it.
Great to be with everyone.
So for all of you listening, maybe something that one of these wise women said really resonated. You felt the goosebumps or you felt it in your heart. So just drop down into those show notes, because I have you hooked up with their websites and they are generously waiting for you to reach out. Go explore, take the next step, see what they're offering. There is some awesomeness to find with all of the authors of these beautiful books that we've been creating. And for me, it was like, well, you read a chapter, you do a tool, you're feeling good, but then what? Right. And so we have many then what's for you. And this is one of them. So you can drop down and continue the conversation with all of these amazing people. And join us for our book launch party. It's going to be on the Brave Healer Productions Facebook page on December 17th at 10 a.m. Eastern. I'm going to have all of the Ultimate Guide authors there. We're going to do some fun giveaways. That'll be a little celebration after the book is out. So of course, if you're listening to this after the 17th, well, go to Amazon, because that means the book is ready and you can grab your copy and start to enjoy reading all of these beautiful stories and very, very powerful tools. Maybe you are a wellness practitioner who's ready to share your brave words in one of our upcoming best-selling books. Well, come on over to bravehealer.com. I cannot wait to chat with you. And lastly today, everybody, remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it's time to be brave. See you next time, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Laura.
authors.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you.